So I attended an event by the Impactful Black Collective. And this conference had a panel of therapists, business owners, a pastor, an attorney, and a professor. And one of the questions asked to this panel is how they were able to overcome the imposter syndrome. Now, as a Black woman attorney in spaces that are predominantly white, I have felt and believe that I suffered from imposter syndrome. So I was really intrigued by this conversation. And the panelists, as well as some audience members, made statements that actually I had never really heard or contemplated before. A couple of panelists and an audience member stated that the imposter syndrome is mainly a white woman's problem, and that it is a phenomenon that was created by white women, which they call a commercialized lie. Welcome to SADOC with Sandra, episode 8, Imposter Phenomenon, the white woman's commercialized deception or minoritized people's internalized reaction to racial discrimination and microaggressions. We'll hear from Black voices at the Impactful Black Conference, and I will discuss a Harvard Bar Review article that considers what the imposter phenomenon means to people of color. Let's hear from this panel.
Which one? Imposter? To be honest with you, that's the first time I've heard it tonight.
Oh, wow.
That's why I asked for the clarification.
Wow.
So educate me. I told you I'm willing to listen.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Everyone, my name is Mo, and I'm a guest of Terry's. So, let me tell you why this is so important to answer. Because on the way up here, I was speaking to my sister, who I also invited here. She has everything to give and so much that the community needs. And she does it, she is a person that does it. She spoke about things, she does things, so she has a podcast. But when she speaks and people want her to come back and give more, they're like, yes, give more, give more. She's not able to give more. And she told me it's because she has imposter syndrome. We just had this conversation, like on the way here. Wow. She doesn't feel like, I'm working through it myself. How am I going to help someone else? How am I going to show up and teach them the things that I am in the process of learning and practicing and sometimes failing? Yeah. So it stops her. And I'm like, why? They need it, they want it, they're begging you for it, and you're holding you back. So I was asking her, like, what are you going to do? You knowing and you speaking the words imposter syndrome should be enough for you to figure out, okay, how am I going to come against this? Yeah. So please, if she didn't know, I don't know, So
thank you. No, thank you for answering.
Yes, thank you.
Mo.
Thank you, Mo. She's excellent. So yes, basically in a nutshell is what she said, right? Is when you typically do well at something, right? But you feel like you don't fit. It's not you. I'm a therapist. I speak with other therapists, just to be honest with you, all the time and say, Christine, I feel like an imposter, right? They'll stand right next to me, do an even better job than me, and I'm clapping, and I'm like, you helped that person stay alive. But they're like, well, I don't feel like I'm qualified. That's an imposter. Okay? So who wants to answer that?
Well, I'm certainly still working through it. And I thought that maybe once I got my doctoral degree, that would be it. And it's not. I'm on this panel going, what the heck did Dr. Kipling get me into? Quite honest with you. So I'm still working through it. And I can tell you that the root of it's very interesting that you did not know what this is, which says to me that this must be prominent in a female context. Because many of us have been beat down by what we're not. I don't care how my father father raised me and said, you will always have to be twice as good. You have no choice. And so I grew up with this whole perfectionism thing that is a double-edged sword. So it's made me, it's helped develop the greatness in me, but it's also come alongside of this imposter syndrome because it makes me feel like nothing will ever be good enough. I could have somebody who comes into a job situation, is not dressed for the part, sounds like a bumbling idiot, but if they look different than me, I know that they're going to have a better shot, still today, that they will have a better shot at a job than I will. And so fighting through what we've had to fight through, the discrimination and the being overlooked and all of the, and you know, if you're a strong black woman, God forbid, if you use your voice, then they call you names that we won't talk about in the room, right? And so you're trying to be your authentically self, but you're not embraced to be your authentically self. So we are constantly in this fight. But if we can remember, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. God created me. That's how I do it. I don't know everybody believes in the room, but I am a child of the Most High God. And God, if you put me in this room, it's because I'm allowed to talk to myself. Before I talk to executives and things like that, I speak the word over myself. And then I go in and I believe that the Holy Ghost goes out.
Why did you say that this is Dr. Morgan's question?
I have to agree with Dr. Morgan. When I got my doctorate, I thought the world was going to open up. Like, everything was going to open up for me. And I got it in 2022. And I spent 2 years doubting myself, doubting, why did I even do it if nothing's going to change? It's been a journey. It's a wilderness journey. And I honestly did return to my faith. Not that I didn't always have it, I just went deeper. I had to talk to my inner self. I had to encourage little Esther that we have to prepare for future Esther, and we can't stay in the same place. So you talk about being fearfully and wonderfully made. I had to tell myself the same things. I was chosen. I am loved. I'm valued, and I'm also a child of God. And every day, every morning, every hour, on my knees before I get out of bed, every day I have to say, you know, this is what people are saying. It's not true. You can't believe the lies. God told you something different. The word is written and it's there and it's forever. And so you are absolutely right. Thank you for sharing that, because I wanted to share this one.
Affirmations, positive self-talk. I see a hand raised.
Christina, we have one more after you.
She said over here, so I'm over here. Oh yeah, sure.
I'm not on the panel. But I didn't want to leave this question with everyone in the room thinking it's only a female thing. I've been an attorney for 24 years, and still, in many rooms, I feel as an imposter. I've been a pastor for 21 years, and still, in many rooms, I feel like, what am I doing here? Everyone's here is better than me. Everyone here is they're successful. So the question was, how do you get past imposter syndrome? One thing I've just learned how to do is just do it afraid.
Do it afraid.
There's times when I've gotten calls, I'm still shocked. You're asking me to be on the board of this or that, and I'm like, really? Just do it afraid. And when you get in, as an interview I just saw with Barack Obama, saying when you get into the room, you'll find out you do belong.
They're not that smart, you said.
In every room, there are some brilliant people, and there's some not so brilliant people. And you're like, you know what? I'm okay.
Thank you. Yes, you hear that says, do it afraid.
And here, you know, this is a bishop, right? Yes. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Also, Esquire, must I say, right? Yes. So no matter what attainment we may have, I always say that imposter syndrome is just a feeling, right? It doesn't mean that it's fact. It's just a feeling. And we make it what it is, right? Or we bring it to life. And you always have to be aware of that record that spins in our head. Because if we're saying that we're not good enough, then guess what? Most of the time it's going to spill out. We're not good enough. Be confident, just like by Dia Harmon, right?
to share this other perspective too. Like, respectfully, I get what everyone said. There have been moments where I completely identify with that, but for me, in my community, that is language that I just do not allow. I do not allow my clients to say, well, Michelle, no, first of all, you're not going to claim something that some other group of people made up to commercialize, to sell books, and to take your money and to make you feel like you less than. Then there's a whole bunch of people sitting in a room saying, I have imposter syndrome. I mean, first of all, it's a commercialized lie. Okay, I'm really passionate about this. It's a commercialized lie, and we need to be able to see through the marketplace. They come up with these cute terms and these nice little fancy titles that people can feel some affection for, so they can sell you more books, they can sell you more seminars, and take your money and sit with you for an hour to talk about a lie that's not even true. The truth of the matter is, we are all learning something every year where we feel insecure because we haven't mastered it. Yeah. Right? That's what we need to be saying. We need to be saying, I don't know how to do this. Pastor told us you do it afraid, but you are not going to sit on my watch and call yourself some freaking imposter for some other people commercialized to just burn you.
Can I follow up with that? Yes. I'm gonna tell the truth, right? Imposter syndrome was created by white women.
Come through.
By white research. White women researched this. So I just wanted to share that.
Talk about it. Right? This is what I'm talking about, right? This is the type of conversation that needs to be had. And it's okay to have a difference in opinion. You know, this is great. All right.
My name is Kirsten. And so I'm very big on words, and to kind of speak to what Michelle was saying. So the definition of imposters is a person who pretends to be someone else in order to deceive. And so when you say that you struggle with imposter syndrome, what you're saying is I am intentionally trying to deceive somebody, which isn't our story. You know, you are struggling with whether or not you fit in or belong, but you are not trying to deceive somebody.
Come on now.
So the fact that it was created by white women to say they are coming into a space feeling like they are pretending to be someone with the intention to deceive says something.
Okay.
So I just want us to be very conscious of the words that we're using, and like I said, I'm big on words, and I look at the definition, like what does that mean? So if I'm saying I'm an imposter, I'm saying I want to deceive you. I'm going to pretend to be somebody so that I can deceive you so you think I'm somebody else, and that's not my intention. And so I just wanted to put that out there so we know what we're actually saying.
Yeah.
So after listening to the Impactful Black panel, I decided to look it up. I was so intrigued because I've always been saying the same thing. And so they gave me a different perspective. There definitely is a controversy out there about whether the imposter phenomenon is just a white woman's problem or has impact upon the Black community, particularly to Black women. In 1978, two white psychologists studied predominantly white women and coined the term imposter syndrome for the feeling that women get as though they do not belong in powerful positions or professional settings. So these same characteristics that were found in 1978, they were studied again in more detail around about 2014 and up to 2024. So these same characteristics as found as imposter syndrome are still characteristics that are experienced by Black students and Black professionals. Even the professionals at the Impactful Black conference stated they doubted their abilities, they discounted their intelligence, their experience, their skills. They felt they needed to be 2 times better than their colleagues and still would be overlooked. I found a Harvard Bar Review article written in 2024 by Kevin Cockley, and it's titled, "It's Time to Reconceptualize What Imposter Syndrome Means to People of Color." He also suggests replacing syndrome with phenomenon to reduce the mental health implications. Kevin Conkley's article defined racialized imposter phenomenon as persistent beliefs or actions of intellectual and professional self-doubt among racially minoritized people due to experiences, systems, or principles of racial oppression and inequity. Mr. Conkley explains that this self-doubt from the environment of racial discrimination and racial microaggressions contribute to minoritized people feeling like a phony. So where that panel was saying that's not our narrative, that's not our story, because we actually come to these spaces as our true selves, it's just that we are not always accepted. So this lack of acceptance make us internalize it to make us feel like we are that phony. And the environment that we often find ourselves in that cause us to experience this self-doubt is when there is explicit bias, unequal pay, no people of color in leadership, minimizing our ideas, interrupting or silencing us, being told that we don't belong, being asked, are we the janitor when we may be the doctor? Being asked, are we the defendant? We are the attorney. Having security and sheriffs card us because we don't look like the people who normally walk through the door. Being told that you have received the position or the honor just because of your race. These feelings often result in us experiencing a decline in our mental health, as well as losing job satisfaction and no longer feeling a desire to be in the profession or be in the space. So ultimately, Mr. Conkley concluded that yes, minoritized people can experience both the original imposter phenomenon as found in 1978 by white women, and also the racial imposter phenomenon because of their environment of oppression and microaggressions. This may be an answer to what the impactful Black community was actually saying, and it may be a way for us to accept that the imposter phenomenon actually does apply to the Black community. Mr. Conkley gave suggestions to corporations of how they can make a positive impact. And some of those suggestions include: 1, make the connection between bias and racialized imposter feelings. 2, identify problems in contributing organizational systems and behaviors. 3, improve those systems and change those behaviors. 4, change the organizational culture. 5, fix the bias. Dear corporations, you cannot fix bias if you scrub your policies, practice, and procedures and websites of DEIA. And DEIA are not simply letters. They are diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. So dear corporations, when you say that you are scrubbing DEIA, you are saying you are scrubbing diversity, scrubbing inclusion, scrubbing equity, and scrubbing access. You are saying that you are not a proponent for that. So your actions create and promote imposter phenomenon in minoritized people. To the minoritized people of color who are in these schools, in these corporations and organizations, the impactful Black community had great suggestions for you. Don't claim it. Once you name it, then you can overcome it. Do it afraid. Walk in that door anyway. Apply anyway. Sit at that table anyway. Speak up anyway. Engage in positive affirmations. Place positive statements about yourself in notable places so you can speak to yourself. Engage in positive self-talk. Don't adopt the language of someone who would oppress you. We are not what we are called. We are what we will answer to. So we need to remember that. I like to remind myself also, because as I said, I experience it, and I have said that numerous times of experiencing imposters phenomenon, and I often have to speak positively to myself. And I like to also remind myself that words have power. So Psalms 18:20-21 says, "From the fruit of their mouth, a person's stomach is filled. With the harvest of their lips, they are satisfied. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." So that is why I have the saying that I have at the end of each podcast. So I thank you for joining me for episode 8. And remember, your mind is a weapon. When you pursue education, aim for elevation, and channel your creativity into empowerment, no door can hold you and no one can stop you. Your mouth is a weapon that can slay your doubts and insecurities. So speak life to yourself. Minoritized communities are social racial groups marginalized or persecuted because of systemic oppression.
Whoever may need this nugget of encouragement, things will be alright, so quit your worry. I get it, the odds can stack back against the wall, but even consider it such, know you'll stand tall. Sat and watch from the sidelines one too many times. Wicked games to play, make me wanna lose my mind. Found solitude, knowing it'll be over soon. Ever need a boost, count on me for the 1-2. Trouble don't last when the tough get going. Baby, all we do is win, so show me my opponent. Adversity, doubt, stress, could care less, cause how we handle those like an S on our chest.